In the last lecture, we added logic to fetch orders. Let's now loop through them and output them. Now here, I'll do this inline. I'll reach out to this state orders and map this array, well, you know it, into an array of JSX elements. So here I got my individual order, which should basically just be converted into an order object like this. That's it for now. If we save this, we should get as many objects here as we have orders in Firebase. As always, we also need to add that key prop here. So let's add key and let's set this to, well, now we can use order ID because there will be an ID property, that unique Firebase ID, which makes for a perfect key. Now with that, we can save it and we get the orders from Firebase. Of course, we're not using the values from there though. This is the next thing I want to do. We got the orders, we render the order. Now, of course, it would be sensible to also pass the order information on to that order component so that we can render something there. We want to pass on the ingredients. So there, I will pass on order ingredients. And I also want to pass on the price. Now, if we have a look at the Firebase object, the price is stored in a price property there. So this is what I want to pass on to. Price shall be order price. With that, we're passing the information to the order. Let's now output it there. In the order component, the price is simple. Simply use dynamic content output with single curly braces, and we output props price like this. So now we should already see the real price here, and we do. We also see that bug here. We want to use price to fixed with 2 decimal places. This will only work on a number though, and by default this is a string. So what I can do is I can simply call number parse float to convert a string to a number, or of course you add a plus sign at the point of time you're passing it here. In the orders component, adding a plus in front of order.price should also do the trick. Both should work and should output this price. Now the ingredients are a bit more complex because ingredients, as so often, are an object and we need an array to loop through them and output them. So in the order component here, where I want to output the ingredients, I now need to turn my ingredients into an array. And you can either do that conversion in the orders container or here in the order component. I'll do it here in the order component. So for that, I'll change my order function to not just return JSX, but to have a real function body, where we then also return JSX, of course, but where I can run some code before doing so. So let's do it like that. And let's now add the code to transform my ingredients. So here I'll add ingredients, which should be an ingredients array. And we had the logic for transforming this before. In the burger component here, the transformed ingredients, this actually is the logic we can use to turn our ingredients into an array of ingredients. I want to show you an alternative though. So here ingredients is just an array for now, an empty array. I'll then use a for in loop for ingredient name in props ingredients. This is what I can do, because in a for in loop, the variable element is going to be the property name. And since my properties are simply just ingredient representations, ingredient name makes sense to me as a name. So here I can then use my ingredients array and push this ingredient onto it. So here I can then reach out to props ingredients and access the ingredient with the ingredient name. This is the value of the ingredient, so 0, 1, 2, and so on. I want to push a JavaScript object though, where I of course also have the amount, but before storing the amount, I also want to store the name of the ingredient, and that just is the key name, ingredient name here. So this is the object I'm now pushing onto this ingredients array. Very simple transformation, certainly a bit shorter than the other one, so that's why I also wanted to show this alternative. Now with that being pushed onto the ingredients array, I can map my ingredients to text basically here. So I'll then create a new variable here, or a new constant, just as this is a constant, which I'll name ingredient output. And ingredient output should be ingredients map as you learned it. We get the individual ingredient. I want to return some JSX here. And here I will return a span. I'll assign some class to it soon, where I output IG, with curly braces, IG name, and then in parentheses, and then in curly braces for dynamic output, IG amount, closing span like this. Now let's output ingredient output down there, like this. And let's have a look at this output here. Get the good old key error here, but we see this is generally working. Now regarding the key, I actually can use the ingredient name as the key, as it is unique here. So I can use name as a unique key. And now I want to style this span, and I will simply style it with some inline styling here. So I'll assign a JavaScript object. I'll use text transform to capitalize the first letter. So capitalize does exactly this. If we save that, we see it starts with a starting letter now. And I also want to put these spans into little boxes so that they stand out from each other. So I'll wrap this JavaScript object here over multiple lines to display inline block. Add a little bit of margin to left and right, 0 to top and bottom though, so just 8 pixels to left and right, 0, 8 pixels. And add a border maybe, 1 pixel, solid gray, and a little bit of padding, like 5 pixels. And you could of course also use a CSS class for that. This is how I want to output it. These are my ingredients, this is my price, these are my orders. Now we can add more to the orders. We can add logic to delete an order or to mark it as fulfilled. For now, this is how I want to output them though.